Good morning. I'm going to continue my series on the games of Paul Morphy from the First American Chess Congress in 1857. He's in round 2 against Alexander Meek, and he won the first game. Morphy with the white plays e4, and Meek plays e6. I've just got to say that I'm not using an engine. I have seen all of Morphy's games at least once in my life, being a big, huge Morphy fan, so it isn't entirely new to me. But, this is a kind of one take thing, and there will be mistakes in it, but my idea is to encourage you to think so that you can become a better chess player, because chess is a thinking game. And so if I give you all the answers, it's not encouraging thinking. So I think from that point of view, it's just fine to be kind of amateurish about it. Morphy takes the whole centre since he's willing to give it to him. G6. E6, G6, probably not good. And look at this hole here on F6. At the minute it's defended by the queen and the knight, but it's a weakness. BD3, brilliant. Instead of coming here and to C4 and coming on a filled up diagonally, strengthens his own centre with his development. And Meek plays bishop to G7. Morphy plays bishop to E3. I might have been tempted to play C3 myself, but yeah, that's fine. Knight E7. Morphy carries on with his development. Knight E2. And B6. Double fianchetto, but I'd rather say Swiss cheese. Just look at this position. So the knight comes out, the bishop comes out. He castles. And Meek comes with D5. He's got to try and make a break in the centre at some point. But of course, Morphy just goes forward. And now his small pawn chain is pointing towards his opponent's king. There's going to be a kingside attack in this game. So Meek castles, and Morphy plays F4. Of course, he's going to expand. He might at some point play C3 to support his chain. He might play knight here, and knight here, and queen here, or pawn here and queen here. He has so many attacking chances because he has such a great amount of space. F5. I don't even know what to say. Just look at this square and this square. He is just making holes in his position. And Morphy comes to H3 with the pawn. Yeah, I think he's thinking of supporting the push G5 with his pawn, and why not? And Meek plays his knight to D7. Morphy comes to H2, maybe so that he can play the rook to G1. I don't know. And Meek comes to C5 to attack Morphy's centre. Morphy supports his centre with C3, and Meek plays C4. Oh, what is wrong with this move? Oh, very much. As I often say, there is tension between these pawns at the moment. When you move the pawn, you release the tension. Before you move the pawn, Morphy has to think every time. Every time he makes a move, Morphy has to think, what am I gonna do if he takes the pawn on D4? How am I gonna recapture? What kind of dangers are there? He doesn't have to think about that anymore. And at the same time, Meek is giving up this square for Morphy's knights. Maybe he's making this square a little bit weaker. He's just conceding too much ground. So Morphy just backs up to C2, of course. It's great for him. And he plays A6. Well, no. Simply no. So the knight comes to F3, of course. He's going to be coming forward with his pieces every opportunity he gets now. And Meek comes to H6. Another weakening pawn move in front of his king. Pawn comes to G4 to attack the pawns, and the king comes to h7. And the point of king to h2, the rook comes to g1. Rook comes to g8 to fight over that square. The queen comes to e1. Maybe he might be able to play queen here, knight here, check, pawn here. Who knows? He has chances here. So the knight comes to c6. But why is his knight wandering away from the king side, where the action will happen? Seems a crucial way of going wrong at this time. So the knight comes to h4. Obviously, he's got his sights on this square. And meekly ignores that attack and plays queen to f8. Maybe he thinks, yeah, I want to defend this pawn, but no. So he takes with the pawn, threatens the queen. Meek has no choice but to come out with his king. And now Morphy has a double check with the pawn and the rook. You know, it's inviting the king to the party. He goes to f7 and the pawn takes. And the king has to come forward once more. And the pawn comes forward. Great. And if the king comes to e7, the pawn comes here. And it's a fork on the rook and bishop. So he's winning material automatically because of this. But the king comes to e7 anyway. But Morphy doesn't play the pawn first. He plays queen to h4 check. Just to put a bit more pressure on things. And the king comes to f8. It's easy, no? He pushes forward the pawn. And Meek takes the pawn with the bishop. Morphy takes the pawn. He has to take the rook now, otherwise things are really going to collapse for him. But Morphy then takes the rook. Knight takes the pawn. You know, he's not long for this world. The bishop comes to g6 with check. King comes to d7. Bishop comes to f5 with check. King goes to e8 again. And the bishop comes to h8 with check. H6 even. Not with check. Threatens the queen. Queen comes to h8. And the rook comes to g7. It cuts off the queen from supporting the knight. And the knight comes to g8. But then he resigned immediately because he sees the danger that actually what's going to happen next is some kind of check on here, and then the rook will move. Or maybe he's going to play a rook here and threaten the queen. Queen hasn't got any good place to go. His position is in total collapse. If we switch on the analysis, it says mate in 3, bishop g6 check, king is forced to f8, and then rook f7 double check, and then king is forced to e8, and then rook takes b7 is mate because it's checked with the bishop. And so a total collapse by Meek, who played after his name very, very meekly. He didn't really put up any resistance. He hadn't, he was a good chess player, Meek, and Morphy played him early in his career since they were both lawyers from the southern United States. He played him early in his career, but I don't know why he played so carelessly and meekly here. I suppose he decided he was beaten before he started. So that was Morphy versus Meek. So Morphy now has a 2-0 lead in the first of 3 second round game in the First American Congress. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share and comment below my videos. I hope you like this one. Thanks. Bye.